A father's fight for his daughter. The wail of police sirens sliced through the calm of our suburban afternoon, a sound that turned my stomach as I stirred a pot of tomato soup in the kitchen. My 9-year-old daughter, Emma, sat on our front porch, her bald head gleaming under the Virginia sun. She was wrapped in her blue quilt, a gift from her late grandmother, her frail body battling lymphoma. Through the window, I saw 2 patrol cars pull into our driveway, their lights flashing like a warning to the whole neighborhood. My heart sank not because I feared the police, but because I knew why they were here. As a police chief with 25 years on the force, I'd seen a lot, but nothing prepared me for this. Margaret Hensley, our HOA president, had called the cops on my cancer-stricken daughter. 3 months earlier, when Emma's chestnut hair fell out from chemotherapy, I thought the worst was behind us. The diagnosis had hit like a freight train, followed by grueling treatments and sleepless nights holding her as she endured the poison saving her life. Losing her hair seemed like a small price to pay, but I was wrong. The real battle wasn't just the cancer, it was the cruelty of those who made Emma feel ashamed for surviving. I rushed to the porch, where Emma sat on the swing, her hazel eyes wide with fear as officers approached. Behind them stood Margaret, 60, in a crisp blazer, pointing at my daughter like she was a vandal. This was the woman who'd sent us 52 violation notices in 3 months, who'd photographed Emma on our porch and marked her bald head with a red pin as proof of HOA infractions, who'd suggested we move to a more suitable community. Now, she'd escalated to calling 911 on a child fighting for her life. I threw open the door as Officer Daniels, a veteran under my command, approached Emma with a puzzled look. Officer Lee, newer but sharp, trailed behind, equally confused. Chief Thompson, we didn't know this was your place, Daniels said, his voice tight. We got a call about a minor causing a public disturbance with a disruptive appearance. The words hit like a slap. Margaret stepped forward, clutching a binder, her voice shrill. This child has violated our community's appearance standards for months. Her baldness is unsettling residents and lowering property values. The world spun. This woman had called emergency services because chemotherapy left my daughter bald. Emma's voice, small and trembling, cut through my rage. Daddy, are the police here because I'm sick? Did I do something wrong by not having hair? My heart shattered. My brave girl, who'd faced needles and nausea with courage beyond her years, thought she was a criminal for having cancer. I knelt beside her, ignoring Margaret's ranting. Sweetheart, you're not in trouble. You're the strongest person I know. Being sick isn't a crime. But her eyes filled with tears. Mrs. Hensley told Mrs. Carter I look creepy. She said bald kids make the neighborhood look cheap. I closed my eyes, fighting the urge to lose control. Margaret had been poisoning my daughter's mind, making her feel like her illness was a stain on our community. Standing, I faced Daniels. What exactly did the caller say? He shifted uncomfortably. Dispatch said a child was deliberately appearing in public in an offensive state, ignoring warnings. Nothing about cancer or medical treatment. Lee chimed in, his voice hard. Chief, if we'd known this was about a sick kid, we wouldn't be here. This is harassment. I turned to Margaret. Did you tell 911 my daughter is a cancer patient? Her face reddened, but her defiance held. I reported a violation of community standards. Her medical condition doesn't exempt her from rules. I could barely speak. She's 9 and fighting for her life. Margaret snapped. That's not the neighborhood's problem. When you bought in Willow Creek, you agreed to uphold standards. There are no medical exceptions. Daniels interrupted, incredulous. You called 911 because a kid with cancer doesn't have hair. Margaret doubled down, waving her binder. I've sent 52 notices demanding she wear a hat or wig in public areas, including her yard. They've ignored everyone. She pulled out a photo of Emma reading on our porch, her head circled in red with standards violation scrawled across it. My blood boiled. You stalked my daughter, photographed her, and defaced her image, I said, my voice low and dangerous. Emma gasped, seeing the photo. Daddy, I didn't know she was taking pictures. Why did she draw on my head? The innocence in her voice broke me. This woman had terrorized my child for existing while sick. Ms. Hensley, I said, my chief's authority kicking in. Your actions constitute stalking, harassment of a minor, filing a false report, and violating disability laws. For the first time, her confidence wavered, but she snapped. I reported a legitimate violation. She chooses to look like that. Like what? I demanded. Her mask slipped. She looks sick. She looks wrong. She doesn't belong in a respectable neighborhood. The silence was deafening. Even she seemed to realize she'd exposed her true self. Person who saw a sick child as an eyesore. Daniels shook his head. Chief, this isn't a standards issue. It's hate toward a disabled kid. I looked at Emma, trembling against me. She'd endured so much hospital stays, chemo, watching her hair fall out in clumps. Now this woman wanted her to feel ashamed of surviving. Daniels, document every word she said, every notice, every photo. This is evidence for criminal charges. Margaret sputtered. I have every right to enforce HOA rules. I stepped closer. Your rights rules matter. But you broke them. You lied to 911, harassed a disabled child, and discriminated against her medical condition. I sent Emma inside with Lee, who promised to show her his badge collection. Along with Margaret, I unleashed 25 years of law enforcement experience and a father's fury. My daughter has lymphoma. She's fought chemotherapy that would break most adults. She sits on this porch because it's the only place she feels strong enough for fresh air. And you've made her feel like a freak. Margaret clutched her binder. Section 5.2 demands appropriate appearance in common areas. I laughed bitterly. That's for unkempt lawns, not medical conditions. You're discriminating against a disabled child. Her arrogance cracked. I'm sure my lawyer will handle this. I turned to Daniels. Arrest Ms. Hensley for filing a false report, harassment, and violating disability laws. As Daniels cuffed her, Margaret's composure collapsed. This is a misunderstanding. I was protecting property values. I held up my phone, showing her the notices. September 10th. The child's bald appearance harms community aesthetics. October 5th. Final warning for disturbing appearance. October 12th. You threatened a lien on our house. Daniels stared at her in disgust. You circled a cancer patient's head in a photo. That evening, I sat with Emma, her small body curled in my lap. Daddy, am I ugly because I'm bald? My throat tightened. No, sweetheart. You're a warrior. Your bald head shows how strong you are, fighting those bad cells. She touched her scalp. The kids at the hospital are bald too. Are we all warriors? I nodded. Every one of you. She frowned. Then why did Mrs. Hensley think I looked bad? I struggled to explain. Some people fear what they don't understand. She was wrong, and she'll face consequences. Margaret's arrest hit the local news. The headline, HOA President Targets Cancer Patient, sparking outrage. Support poured in, survivors shared stories. A wig company offered Emma options, not to hide, but to give her choices. Emma's response stunned us. I don't want to cover my warrior head. I want kids to know warriors don't need hair. Neighbors revealed Margaret's pattern of targeting anyone, imperfect, a veteran with a messy lawn, an elderly woman with arthritis struggling to paint her fence. The community rallied, demanding change. At Margaret's hearing, I presented her with notices and photos. Dr. Rachel Coleman, Emma's oncologist, testified about the psychological toll. Ms. Hensley's actions made Emma feel her cancer was shameful. No child should question their worth because of treatment. The judge, a no-nonsense woman, sentenced Margaret to 8 months in jail, 3 years of probation, 600 hours of service at a children's hospital, and $60,000 in damages. She was banned from HOA roles for life. The aftermath brought real change. Virginia passed Emma's law, protecting medically vulnerable residents from HOA discrimination. Our HOA rewrote its bylaws, electing a new president.